Hello, brothers and sisters. This is Chris Taylor, your TForce coordinator speaking. Welcome to your Teamsters National Negotiating Committee overview of the tentative agreement between the Teamsters and TForce Freight. First, I'd like to thank the following: the General President, Brother Sean O'Brien, General Secretary Treasurer, Brother Fred Zuckerman, the Director of the Freight Division, Brother John A. Murphy, Ed Thompson, that's Brother Ed Thompson, my co-chair at the table for these negotiations, the chairs and co-chairs of the Teamsters TForce regions. Literally, they make this job worth the while. The legal team, Clement, Rich Gibson, the IBT staff, including Sister Amanda Ernest and Natalie Casada, the economic departments, Sister Caitlin Long and Kendra Brock, also the Teamsters National Negotiating Committee itself. Last but not least, I want to thank the 7 rank and file members who were critical in giving the guidance this committee needed in achieving a contract that not only protects us now, but for generations to come. The General President was adamant that there would be no givebacks and no concessions. I'm proud to share that your National Negotiating Committee achieved these objectives. Your committee also knew that the protections of the road drivers had been diminished. Because of the high loss in volume over the last 5 years and the company's willingness to upsize its use on the rail, this contract will protect all road drivers, both current and in the future. I will now start going over the changes in the collective bargaining agreement. Now, I won't read all the changes verbatim, but hopefully answer a lot of your questions or concerns. If you have the contract in front of you or the changes in front of you, you can follow along. Starting with Article 1, Section 3, transfer of company title or interest. This is language to ensure that TForce, if it is sold in the future to another company, that the collective bargaining agreement, your contract, would be adopted and followed by the entity or entities purchasing the company and would be bound by all its terms and obligations of the agreement. In Section 4, if TForce engages in an acquisition or a merger resulting in control over a company that performs LTL operations similar to those covered by our contract, that the company or acquisition purchased by TForce would fall under our collective bargaining agreement. If there are legal restrictions that would prevent that from happening, then TForce would agree to stay neutral and recognize the union once we have a majority of those employees who have signed cards. If you remember, that's how UPS Freight was organized. In Article 2, Section 2, card check neutrality. What's that really mean? That means that the current group of TForce employees not currently covered by our contract, the union will have the right to obtain authorization cards from those non-union employees without interference from the employer and be recognized once we have a majority. In Article 4, the steward language, going to C2, that's the 8th paragraph. Now the company shall provide information within 10 calendar days, if requested by a business agent, for a grievance information. Also, the steward shall be entitled to receive copies of normally daily records such as time logs, inspection data, bid sheets, schedules, dispatches, etc., without any delay. In addition, the company must make a bona fide attempt to contact the applicable business agent or local union representative before dismissing a shop steward for any reason. Just giving our stewards another layer of protection. Article 5, Seniority. We will now identify seniority as the critical component of this agreement, and it shall prevail unless otherwise expressly set forth otherwise. Section D. The company requests a road driver to make a stop or extra pickup or delivery must be within 50 miles in connection with his or her regular run. That means it can only be a pickup or delivery within 50 miles of their actual run that they've been scheduled to. Also in D, no local cartage CDL employee can be forced on a sleeper team or laydown. Section F, a new number 6, it will not be the intent for a casual employee to be used in lieu of full-time employees. Sections 9 and 10, the dock worker or combination thereof and the casual clerk or combination thereof will now work themselves onto a full-time position if there are 8-hour days in any 40-day span in an 80-day consecutive period. That is just language where we have shortened the criteria to become full-time from part-time. A new J in Article 5, Section 1, there will be no split shifts unless mutually agreed upon with the local union. Section 2, we have new voluntary language allowing those during slow times who are senior and rather not work the opportunity to do a layoff and still receive the state unemployment benefit. Section 2B, you'll be entitled now to layoff in writing immediately. Also, the local union business agent should be notified within 72 hours of a layoff or a recall. Laid off employees will have the right to transfer to service centers within 75 miles of his or her original terminal if there's an opening in their classification to avoid a layoff. The road driver language where a road driver's run's cut for the day has been eliminated from Article 5. We'll get into further than that into Article 44, but just so you know, it's out of Article 5. Article 5, Section 4, the over-the-road or local cartage positions that have been vacated for 30 calendar days, or the parties are aware of that individual that will be out of service more than 30 days, then the position will be put up for bid immediately. And we'll use the Wednesday to Wednesday, noon to noon bidding process to have that happen. And for clerks, back in your addendum, that time limit is 45 days. So there is a particular section in the addendum that identifies when the posting should be up for the clerks. In Section 5, new hires, we have successfully lowered the probationary period for both CDL and non-CDL employees. Section 8, new terminal to terminal transfer language that allows movement between classifications if he or she is qualified to do the work. Also, in places where there is more than one opening, the company awards those terminal transfers. The date and time of the award will be the new seniority date, regardless of when you arrive. Now I'm going to quote from what you're actually looking at, which is the language. It reads, when multiple positions are awarded in one location, seniority will be in company seniority order, regardless of which employee at the domicile first, or which employees will be at the domicile first. Going to Section 9, we have now a new overtime trigger. So when there is excessive overtime for active employees, those active employees can actually recall bargaining unit members in their classification back to work. That overtime trigger is based on an overtime percentage formula. Also, we have an MOU to allow locations. This is in Article 5, or we took it out of Article 5 and created an MOU. There will be 4 locations that will have a 60-day window after ratification to raise their hand and vote on the opportunity to have call blocks and extra border rules. Those locations include South Holland, Gaffney, Atlanta, and Kansas City. Article 6, discipline. Section 2, an employee must be given any discipline in writing within 10 calendar days outside of accidents. Failure to do so will prevent the employer from using or issuing such discipline. Section 3, now there'll be no discipline that can be used past the 9-month window outlined in this section, except for a vehicle accident, which will remain in effect for 12 months. Section 4, the company must give a letter of investigation of an accident within 10 calendar days of the accident. The employer will have 20 days from the date of the accident to complete the investigation and 10 additional days to take disciplinary action. This is a total of 30 days, no more. So it's not a 40-day window, it is a 30-day window. We also added a new sentence in Article 6, Section 4, which reads as follows. All discipline must be issued within the time limits outlined in this article. Failure to meet the time limits within this article for imposing discipline, example, 10 days or 30 days in the event of a vehicular accident, shall preclude the employer from imposing such discipline. Article 7, that's the grievance procedure. And Section 4, moving the penalty to a full day of pay for each payroll period as the penalty on settled grievances. A new Section 6F, and I will tell you the employers still didn't want this in the contract, but if they wanted a deal, it had to be in there. And that reads as follows. If the employer refuses to abide by a decision of the National Grievance Panel or an arbitration decision, With a 120-hour notice, the no strike obligation will be waived and the union will have the right to take strike action. Article 8, protection of rights. A new protections from civil protest, keeping our workforce out of imminent danger. Article 9, loss of damage. Employees will not be held liable for loss or damage or stolen property unless you have been criminally proven negligent. Article 13, comp claims. New modified work duties to be outlined, and those duties shall not infringe upon bargaining unit work. So no longer can a modified worker be doing bargaining unit work. There's also a new sentence that's very important, so I'm just going to read it. The employers shall automatically send a letter to Team Care and the employee notifying them 20 to 30 days prior to when the employer's obligation to continue medical coverage is expiring, so the employee can make an appropriate arrangement to self-pay if necessary to continue health coverage. Here's the most important part. Failure to provide such advance notice shall render the employer responsible for continuing coverage until such letter is issued. Article 14, military clause. Employees may request payout on vacation upon notification that he or she is taking military leave, and such request cannot be denied. Article 15, equipment safety. Section 9K, large fans where there's excessive heat, the union and the company co-chairs will determine which terminal this applies to. And the reason that is I can use Tyler, Texas, for example. We might have somebody working in the morning and it'll be 1 or 2 people compared to Dallas, Texas, where you'll have up to 60 people maybe on the dock working at one time. The Dallas location would take precedence over Tyler. So that's just to give you the example. In L, speed governors to include cruise control and pedal speed for road equipment will be set at 70 miles an hour. This is where such equipment goes on roadways where the miles per hour, the speed limit sign, is actually 70 miles or greater. The old MOU, 65 miles an hour for the cruise control and 68 for the pedal speed, will be used for all other equipment. Section 11, the company shall take reasonable measure to provide secure areas for employees' vehicles. That's your personal vehicle. Article 16, Section 2, the company shall also pay for all required fingerprints, TSA cards, and TWIC cards. Article 17, that's your payroll. A penalty now for 1 day of your daily guarantee per payroll period for verified payroll errors. Also limiting the employer's ability to go back and grab over payments for more than 120 days from the date of the overpayment is identified. Currently, that is an unlimited time, and also once the employer has caught the overpayment, they'll be limited to $50 a week out of your check. Now, also, the employer must reimburse an individual who puts in for a valid expense within 3 payroll periods. Failure to do so will grant such individual 1 day of his or her daily guarantee for every payroll period until corrected, once the individual has agreed the violation. So you put in for a receipt, the reimbursement of such, 3 payroll periods don't go by, you don't receive it, file a grievance, and you get 8 hours for every payroll period thereafter. Article 18, Section 2, full-time employees, the employer is now limited to 1 hour past your start time on a daily basis. And here's the important part. Failure of the company to notify the employee of a change in start time 2 hours prior will preclude the company from moving the start time past his or her bid start time. So they can't call you 5 minutes before you're due to work and say, hey, we're moving your start time past. Won't happen in this contract. The 90-10 full-time guarantee has been removed, so all local cartage and clerk full-time employees will be guaranteed 8 hours of work when put to work. Section B, all work on the 7th consecutive day shall be paid at double time. It doesn't matter what day of the week that falls on. To be eligible, an employee must have worked his or her shift for the prior 6 days. Compensated days in this scenario will be a vacation day, a discretionary day, or an actual work day. Each will be identified as a compensated work day. A new F, the 11-hour rule is from punch to punch. This includes meal breaks and meals. So just like it says, from the time you punch in to the time you leave, it's 11 hours. Section 3, Employees who work on their 6th or 7th day will not be required to work past the 8th hour unless they agree to do so. Also, all overtime, regardless of the day, will be offered by seniority within classification, so it's ask the senior, force the junior. Section 5, breakdown. We have moved 2 paragraphs from the MOUs in Section 5 from the back of the book into seniority, and then we've added 1 additional paragraph, and I'll read it, and it's to do with breakdown of weather, delays, and the 34-hour restart. It has been implemented to cover our current practice of 8 hours on and 10 hours off, regardless of whether it's weather-related or a breakdown or a 34-hour restart due to the breakdown or weather delay. Article 21, union activities and leave of absences. A third doctor process to get our members back to work if he or she has been medically disqualified by a DOT exam. Article 23, Section 2, video cameras. We've incorporated our MOU that no onboard camera can be used for disciplinary purposes under any circumstances, but we've also included that the employer must cover up the inward-facing camera that faces the driver, and 1 more additional sentence that reads that no employee shall vandalize or alter any camera. Now, that's important. There's no reason to touch the cameras. The company's going to cover up the camera lens facing the driver, and no other reason they can use discipline for the outward facing. In Section 4, technological language, we've added the sentence as a preamble. This provision shall be applied as to provide employees maximum job security and work opportunity. We've also in 44 put in place some additional language on technological language, and I'll get to that when we get to Article 44. Article 24, leave of absences. Jury duty. You will now receive 8 hours of straight time at your hourly rate of pay for each day served. Under Section 3, that's the FMLA language, the company will still reserve the 1 week of vacation while using FMLA as outlined by law. However, you will also be able to obtain or retain 2 discretionary days while you are out on FMLA. In Section 4, bereavement leave, we've added domestic partner and stepchildren to the bereavement leave, and also put in language that allows a casual with less than 5 years to take 2 days off if the funeral service is in with the hometown. If it's out of town, then that would go to 3 days. Article 25, benefits. So in the 4th year of your insurance premiums, each level will be cut by $45. So the individual worker that has nobody else on the insurance, it will go to 0 in the 4th year. The individual plus 1, which is now $90 a month, will go to $45. And the individual plus the family, which is $135 currently, will go to $90 for your monthly premium. In Section 2, discretionary days, we went from 4 days to 6 days, and also cover full-time new hires to receive discretionary time based on what quarter of the year you received your new full-time position. So if you're hired in the 1st quarter of the year and you're full-time, you'll get 4 days, 2nd quarter 3 days, 3rd quarter 2 days. If you're hired in the 4th quarter, you'll get 1 day discretionary day. A new holiday. Dr. King, Martin Luther King Jr. Has been added. And also full-time employees will be eligible for all holidays after completing probationary period. So you don't have to wait a year anymore. Section 5, vacations, no blackout dates. 5E, employees retiring in any calendar year will receive accrued vacation as well as the prorated vacation for the year they're retiring in. Also, an employee resigning will now receive their accrued vacation. Employees laid off will have the option of having a lump sum payout for unused vacation or unused discretionary days, or both. You'll have the option of how you want to be paid out on a layoff. Section 6, moving the current pension from $115 per year times years of service to $120 in the 4th year of the CBA. And when Sister Long, our economist, is going to speak on behalf of the monies in this contract, she'll go over some of those costs. For those of you who fell into the FAC, that's the final average compensation in December of 2013 going into the 2014 year, you are still protected. We believe there's about 907 of you still in the system, but that language is still there. You're still protected. Wages. There are no split wage increases. There are no two-tier wage scales. Now, there will be a 2-year progression. Year 1 is 80%, year 2, 90%. After the second year is over, you'll go to 100% of whatever the pay scale is in that year. All full-time local cartage and clerks will receive $4.50 over the life of this agreement. The first full pay period of August 1st, which will be August 6th, you will receive $1.70 and then 70 cents each subsequent year starting January 1, 2025. Wages for full-time with CDL will be as follows. August 1, which is actually August 6th, will be $32.55. January 25, that'll be $33.25. January of 26, $33.95. January 27, $34.65. January of 28, $35.35. For local cartage employees without a CDL, again, going August 6th, it is $26.38. In 25, that'll be $27.08. January 26, $27.78. January 27, $28.48. And January 28, $29.18. Now, non-CDL employees, there is no longer an 80-20 rule when applying wages between CDL and non-CDL employees. And I will use the non-CDL local cartage full-time employee who is not in probation as the example for each of you, this includes clerks, to determine what your raise will be effective August 2023. The contract on August 1, 2023, the first full pay period moves the full-time non-CDL dock worker to $26.38. If you were to subtract the $1.70, that is your raise, from the $26.38, you will come up with $24.68. If you are currently at $24.68 or greater, you will receive the $1.70. And I'll use this for example. If you're currently at $25 an hour, you will now move to $26.70, and you will continue to get the 70-cent increases. If you are currently below the rate of $24.68 and full-time and not in progression, you will receive the $1.70 plus whatever amount you need to achieve $26.38. Example, I'll use the $24 an hour example. You're currently making $24, you will receive $2.38 to make the rate $26.38. Full-time clerks, August 1, again, full pay period, you'll go to $21.70, in 2025, $22.40, 26, $23.10, in 27, $23.80, and in 28, $24.50. So it doesn't matter what classification you're in, you will receive the general wage increases identified in this contract, or you'll receive more based on the example. Road drivers will receive 9 cents in increases from the current mileage rate over the life of this agreement. August 1, again, the first full pay period, road drivers will receive an additional 2 cents per mile. In January 1 of 2025, that goes a penny and a half. 26, another penny and a half. And in years 27 and 28, 2 cents for each of those years. Your raises through the CBA will be as follows. August 2023, you'll go to $75.57. January 25, $77.07. And 26, $78.57. And 27, $80.57. And in 28, $82.57. The company has assured the Teamsters National Negotiating Committee that they will have the changes in payroll achieved by September 1, and retro pay will be on a separate check, so it will not be on your payroll check. Casual employees, this is local cartage and casual clerks, will receive $1 increase on August 1, 2023, the first full pay period, and 25 cents each subsequent year. Last, in wages in Section 6, workers receiving the MRPA, that's the market wage adjustment, will receive the general wage increases through the life of this agreement. However, those individuals will have the same 2-year progression as the rest of the employees in Article 26. So again, that's 80% the first year, 90% the second year, and then on to the top rate. Article 30, meal periods. Road drivers who have a meet point will have the option of going down the road after 30-minute lunch. It will not have to wait a full hour as outlined in the current CBA. Article 31, lodging. Hotel and motel rooms must be clean and sanitary. Article 36, garnishments. That has been removed from the CBA, and really what that tells us is the company cannot take disciplinary action based on garnishments. Article 38, if the employer is delinquent in making health and welfare and pension contributions, the union, with an 120-hour notice to the company, may take strike action. So we just need that protection to make sure you guys have insurance and pensions. Article 43, we have defined what other modes of transportation is referring to, and that is defined as rail, barge, ship, drones, air, etc. In Article 44, Section A, and I'm going to read the additions verbatim in Article 44, starting with the end of Section A. So the new language would read, and this goes back to 23.4, what I was talking about earlier. Nor shall the company use any robots, driverless vehicles, drones, or other technology to move freight or replace drivers, clerks, or dock workers. Section B, which is current language, but I'm going to read it anyway because it does matter. The employer may subcontract work in order to meet service commitments if it does not possess the facility, equipment, or personnel to perform such work. In no event shall this paragraph be used as a basis to subcontract road driver work. Section C, and this is currently just all road driver from here on. Road drivers' guarantees will be protected as long as the employer utilizes subcontracting or other modes of transportation during the life of this agreement. Again, you will be protected if they use one rail or one subcontractor during the life of this agreement. Road drivers will be given a daily guarantee if work in the road classification is not offered. Road drivers' daily guarantee will be set at 56 miles per hour on an 8-hour day times the applicable mileage rate in effect. So the guarantee will actually move as the road rate moves through the life of the agreement. Such guarantee will be utilized in the road driver classification when performing road work. Shuttle and drayage work will not count as road work for the purposes of determining if a road driver has met the guarantee. Road drivers will be guaranteed, and the company's obligation, and just listen carefully, the company's obligation to a road driver will be behind the wheel for 8 hours or more. Such runs may include drop, hooks, fueling, or property road work inclusive of that run. So they can't just put you out in the yard for 8 hours. Once the above has been met, the employer's obligation has been met in this section. No road driver will be obligated to work the dock or jockey positions unless otherwise provided in this agreement. Number 3, the employer's current mini-hub operation may continue at ratification. Any future expansion of the employer's mini-hub operation must be approved by TForce, that is the union. So there is no change of ops on this. They must get approval from the union. If they don't get approval, they can't expand. D, at the outset of this agreement, the employer's subcontracting and other modes of transportation, so that's rail, level is set at the March 2023 vendor report percentages. The total subcontracting miles and other modes of transportation will be reduced by the following percentages, and the miles will be returned to the bargaining unit. So here are the annual subcontracting miles that must be reduced. On August 1, 2023 through January 31, 2024, moving from 50% down to 45.8%. February 1, 2024 through July 31, 25, 44.8%. The following year, 43.9%. The following year in 27, 41.9%, and ending at 39.5%. In essence, putting 70.5% of the miles back to the bargaining unit. In addition to the protection set forth above, the company agrees it will provide the union chair of TForce a monthly report in writing detailing the number of runs completed and loads pulled by outside vendors sorted based on the origin and the destination terminals. These monthly reports will also include a system-wide comparison of the total miles run and percentage of miles moved by contractors and other modes of transportation, aka rail, versus the company's road drivers. Each report will include the described data for the prior calendar month and will be provided within 15 calendar days of the beginning of the following calendar month. If the percentage of total contracted miles / other modes of transportation exceeds the limits described in Section E above, the company shall create an additional 25 road driver positions for each 1 full percentage point above the schedule reduction in the following calendar year. The company retains the sole right to assign these drivers to facilities as it deems appropriate. Failure to meet the reduction in subcontracting and other modes of transportation by the levels and dates specified in above E will result in a penalty payment of $500 to each road driver for each percentage point above the specific levels. So let me real quick explain why this is so important. If volume stays the same, those percentages should be fairly not easy for the employer to meet, but they should be able to meet them. If we were to lose more volume, just for instance, they would actually have to give us more of the railing and subcontracting during the life of this agreement to make sure that your guarantee is being met. So we're protected not only if volume shrinks, but we're protected if volume increases and we get more of the miles. In a little bit, I'll turn this over to Caitlin Long, our economist, and she'll cost some of this out, including the work we're taking back from the rail and the subcontractor. Yeah, I will turn this video over to our economist, Sister Caitlin Long, to explain the costs associated with the work. We'll be returning to our road drivers in a few minutes when I finish the changes. But for simplicity and to try to answer some questions, on August 1, 2023, no road driver will have to work the dock again, and he or she will have a daily guarantee, even if that means there is no work at all. So if you have to sit at home, you still get the daily guarantee. For the first 17 months of this agreement, the guarantee will be 8 hours times 56 miles times 75.57 mileage rate, which equals $338.55 a day. At the end of this agreement, the guarantee will be $369.91 a day, giving you a weekly base of $1,849.55. And if my math is not forsaken me, that's around $96,000 at the end of this contract on a yearly base. And remember, shuttles and drayage work does not relieve the company of the guarantee. Article 46, 1.5 times your hourly rate will be the penalty for all time spent for a supervisor doing bargaining unit work. And before I end this video and turn it over to Sister Long, I want to say that keep in mind that this committee, this General President, this General Secretary Treasurer, this General Executive Board have worked tirelessly to make this contract what we feel is a great deal. If for some reason it's turned down, can't foresee why, but if it were, work stoppage would stop on August 1, 2023. And while we go through the process, we'll be on strike. So just want you to be aware of that. With that, I'll turn this video call on to Sister Long.
Thanks, Brother Chris Taylor. I'm Caitlin Long, economist with the Teamsters. I'm here to talk to you about the cost of this tentative agreement. We estimate the total cost of the tentative agreement to be $400 million over the 5 years. The hourly rate increase is $4.50 an hour over the 5 years as a minimum. That's nearly a 10% increase in wages alone. Total compensation hourly increase is estimated to be $32 million in cost in the first year and $270 million in cost over the life of the agreement. As I said, the $4.50 increase is a minimum. There are catch-up raises for the newly established top rates. There's also no red circling for those over the new top rates. An example is a CDL driver who's at $28.65 an hour now. They would be increased nearly $4 an hour to bring them up to the newly established top rate of $32.55. This contract has many provisions to align with National Master Freight language. There's a reduction in the progression from a 4-year progression to a 2-year progression. There's also increased cost for the medical benefits. And in the 4th and 5th years, the monthly coinsurance paid by members would be reduced by $45 an hour. There's also an increase in retirement benefit. It adds $5 per month per year of service for the pension. We estimate that this cost increase is $1.34 an hour in those last 2 years of the agreement. There's also a increase in discretionary days from 4 discretionary days to 6 discretionary days. We estimate that would cost about $4.2 million in the first year and about $21 million over the life of the agreement. This tentative agreement also includes MLK Day as a holiday. We estimate that that would cost about $2.8 million in the first year and $16 million over the life of the agreement. The agreement also increases vacation accrual by making it so that if you retire or pass, your full vacation accrual is paid out. We estimate that the cost of that is about $0.7 million in the first year and about $4 million over the life of the agreement. A major point in this agreement is subcontracting. By bringing these subcontracted jobs back to the union, we would estimate that it would cost the company about $151 million in transferred costs from the subcontractors to our union drivers. Talking about total compensation, we would estimate today that a worker would receive about $45.79 in total compensation today. On day 1, if ratified, that would move up to $47.84, which is the wages included with the health care and the pension benefits. By the end of the contract, total compensation is estimated to be $54.65 on average. Another important thing to keep in mind is the wage rate is going to be at or above non-union carriers, plus the health and pension benefits of a union carrier. I hope that helps you understand the costs of the contract. Thank you.